welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Webster Tarpley in Washington, D.C., now in the midst of the Libyan War. And Libyan wars are bad news. Read the Pharsalia by Lucan, the Roman epic poet. You can find some little quotes from the Pharsalia of Lucan in my recent article here on how the CIA's Libyan rebels are Al-Qaeda killers, the same terrorists who have been killing U.S. forces, NATO forces in Iraq. A couple of more words about these characters. They are reactionaries. The way it works is this. You had, starting in the 1840s, an austere, maybe puritanical Muslim sect, and not unlike Wahhabism in Saudi Arabia. This then became the basis of the Senussi order. The Senussi order in the Libyan and Egyptian area. The center of Senussi was really on the Egyptian side, but it did have a secondary headquarters on the Libyan side. And this then became the dominant ideology of Cyrenaica. This is the Islamism, or can we say anti-Western views of Cyrenaica, coming from the Ikhwan, the Muslim Brotherhood then, created by British intelligence to organize these currents. But in the case of Libya, it's the Senussi, and when you had the Italian imperial occupation with Field Marshal Rodolfo Graziani in the 1920s and 30s, the Senussi waged a guerrilla war against the Italians. Graziani responded by building an immense electrified barbed wire barrier all down the Egyptian border for 300 miles, which then did successfully crush the Senussi rebellion. When the Italians were driven out by the British during World War II, the British then installed King Idris, and first they made him the emir of Cyrenaica, which he liked, and then they told him, now you have to be king of Libya, which he didn't like. He didn't want Tripoli and the other more modern and more developed and more populated areas, population density around Tripoli, much greater than this Benghazi to Tobruk corridor. So King Idris was there. This was absolutely benighted. This was reactionary. This was the poorest country in the world by some measures. Bedouins, Tuaregs, Berbers, everybody in really bad shape, wretched poverty, up until 1968-69, when Gaddafi led a coup. And the coup, of course, was in the sense of Nasserism, the idea that progressive, younger, junior military officers, Colonel Gaddafi, junior military officers take over the country and modernize it. That's the essence of Nasserism. And you can see strong elements of Nasserism in Gaddafi down to the present day, reflected in the fact that Libya ranks 53 in the United Nations Human Development Index in terms of human societies. It is the most advanced country in Africa from those points of view, and it beats countries in Europe. It beats the Czech Republic on incarceration. It beats Russia, Brazil, Venezuela, Ukraine, and a whole bunch of others. So this is not what you've been told. This is probably the best example of equitable distribution of oil wealth of any place in the world. The beef and the objection that these Benghazi characters have against Gaddafi is not economic development. It's that he is a heretic. He has a different reading of the Koran. They say only the caliph can read the Koran. Gaddafi says, priesthood of all believers, anybody can. So this is a theological dispute. I have no opinion really about it, except to say this is none of our business. This is not worth the bones of one U.S. GI. But out, oh imperialists. Time to get out of here. Time to avoid another round of imperial overstretch. But you can see the resentment of the Benghazi to Tobruk and Darna clique is that they were the court. They were the monarchical ruling class up until 40 years ago. Gaddafi has now demoted them. They are now not that anymore. They are reactionaries. They are neo-feudalists. They are tribalists, because the entire basis of this rebellion is a return to tribalism, which Gaddafi has tried to attenuate, even though he has to take it into account for his political survival. We're talking about the Harabi tribe, H-A-R-A-B-I, and the Obeidat within the Harari, the ultra-elitist oligarchs of the Harabi are the Obeidat, O-B-E-I-D-A-T. And indeed, there was some warlord by the name of Obeidi at the beginning who seemed to be taking a leading role. So they are monarchists. They use the monarchist flag of King Idris. They are monarchists. They may want to bring back one of the pretenders, one of King Idris's descendants. I think there are two in the public eye. It's not democracy they want. They want oligarchy. They want monarchy. And they want tribalism. They want religious sectarianism, and they are benighted. What would be the status of women, hey? What's the status of women under that rebel council? Now, let's look at the rebel council to the extent we can. The Benghazi Rebel Council, 31 people, and we know the names of some of them, right? We know Yunus, we know Jalil. These are two former Gaddafi ministers. We know this guy, Jabril, who met Hillary Clinton in Paris, and we know probably 10 other names. About half of the members of the rebel council are anonymous, secret. Half of this group and more are secret. We don't know who they are. We don't even know their names. They don't even have fake names. We have nothing. No names, no faces. Now, why? Well, they say, oh, it's because evil Gaddafi would kill them if he knew who they were. I say no. I say it's because they're Al-Qaeda. They're terrorists. They're members in particular of the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group. And you see these people in Al-Qaeda, anybody named al-Libi, E-L or A-L-L-I-B-I, L-I-B-I would be the Arabic for the Libyan. And these are names they have. Some of them are known as al-Harabi, meaning the guy from the Harabi tribe there in North Africa, in northeast Libya, in Cyrenaica. So whenever you see a Libi or a Harabi or an Obeidi, you know this is that crew heavily represented in Al-Qaeda. Again, during the time that this Libyan Islamic Fighting Group came into Al-Qaeda, they shifted the center of gravity of the Al-Qaeda pool of patsies, fanatics, mercenaries, double agents, criminal elements, and this patsy pool that is Al-Qaeda. They shifted the center of gravity to some extent from Egypt and Saudi Arabia, which had dominated, towards the Libyan element. In other words, the big infusion into Al-Qaeda in 2006, 2007, 2008 was precisely these Libyans. Now, the whole map of the tribal makeup of Libya, too much to go into. It was first described by Italian ethnologists in the 1920s and 30s under Italian colonialism, and it goes back to before World War I. So there are tribes, and they have proven to be relatively persistent in their influence. But Gaddafi is not a tribal government, right? This is a Nasserist government. So the rebellion against him is largely based on pro-terrorist Al-Qaeda elements that they overlap just about completely with the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group. That became Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, and then it overlaps. It's essentially overlapping completely with the Harabi tribe, the Obeidat tribe, and the members of the council. Everybody important in that council, starting with Jalil, starting with Yunus, and starting with Jabril. These are all top honchos of the Harabi tribe. So you're being asked to go and fight and die for the domination of the monarchist, terrorist Harabi tribe instead of Gaddafi, right? With all the problems Gaddafi obviously has, I think this is not a very attractive proposition. I would say, again, hands off, butt out. Let these people solve their own problems as best they can, but there is no basis for this. They're talking about the destruction of civilization. What you have in that Eastern Libyan group is tribalism, terrorism, warlords, criminal elements, and all the rest of it. No U.S. interest involved. Time to butt out. Back in a minute.